2025 has been full of AAA epics and bizarre indie gems, solving crimes, slaying dragons, crying over pixelated characters you met 5 minutes ago, because now they did. This year has just been really good for single-player games. And there's still some good stuff coming as well, and we want to talk about all of it. Hi, folks, it's Falcon, and today on Game Ranks, the top 40 new single-player games of 2025. Starting off with number 40, it's Donkey Kong Bonanza, a 3D platformer on Nintendo Switch 2 that is absolutely fantastic. In a lot of ways, it is the spiritual successor to Mario Odyssey, but in a lot of ways, it goes way past what was even imagined for that. Yeah, you're destroying environments and stuff here, all in service of trying to find the Banandium gems, which were stolen by the villainous Avoid Co. This was the first in-house Donkey Kong title since Jungle Beat, which was back in 2004, and in many ways, it's the Switch 2's killer app. It is fantastic. It's not without a few issues in terms of performance, but it's definitely a swing for the fences, and I'm sure over time it'll get patched. I have a feeling they wanted this one out there as soon as they could possibly get it out there and have it be acceptable by Nintendo standards, which is above a lot of other company standards. To be fair, it's obviously only out on Switch 2, but if you've got a Switch 2, man, is it the game you should buy. At number 39 is the first Berserker Khazan, a single-player action RPG from South Korea's Nipple and Nexon, a Souls-like with some Unreal Engine-powered cel-shaded anime style. You play as an exiled, possessed dude named General Khazan on a quest for vengeance. It's not like the story is super impressive anyway. It's Revenge 101, but the combat loop and the boss fights are really, really good. They're brutal, but very fair and feels very satisfying because it's not one of those games where it's luck when you win. So they tacked on some difficulty tuning post-launch. There's now an easy mode called Beginner, and then easy got bumped to normal, and there's a hardcore mode because I don't know why some people just like punishment. This is a great game. I mean, it's got a great vibe, it's super fun, and it's really satisfying when you do well in it. At number 38, it's Monster Hunter Wilds. Actually came up pretty early in the year, back in February. This was Capcom's fastest-selling game ever. It hit 1.3 million concurrent players on Steam, and it actually was a little controversial with certain hardcore players. I personally think that it's probably a good evolution, for the most part at least, on the Monster Hunter world formula, which actually included some of the verticality, not necessarily all of the verticality, but some of it from Monster Hunter Rise. I don't know, I thought it was a lot of fun. People thought it was maybe a little too streamlined. I didn't. I enjoyed it. Seems like a lot of other people did too. And number 37, it's WUCHANG Fallen Feathers, a Souls-like that, I mean, they're not going to hit you with story. They're not going to hit you a ton of innovative stuff. I mean, there's some stuff I think you'll like in terms of new ideas, but they aren't big new ideas. It's just one of those games that's so freaking high quality, you gotta play it. If you like a Souls-like, it's just a fantastic example of one. I did the Before You Buy on this one. I'd highly recommend you go watch that. If it sounds like it might tickle your fancy, I think it will. And while you're watching, our Before You Buy on there, maybe click subscribe. We do videos every day, and we know a ton of you, in fact, most of you are not subscribed. So we ask that you do that. I don't want to dwell on it too long. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. Let's move on to the next one. And number 36 is Death Stranding 2 on the beach. I mean, it's Death Stranding, but much, much bigger. Much, much bigger. You can build, like, monorails. The supernatural stuff is much crazier. There's goo mechs. You're still expanding the chiral network, this time in Australia, and it is much crazier, in all seriousness. Aside from Norman Reedus, you got Elle Fanning, George Miller, Guillermo del Toro is back. It's just a crazy game. If you haven't played it, give it a shot. At number 35 is Assassin's Creed Shadows, the late 16th century Sengoku Japan version of Assassin's Creed. It's got a big map like Origins, but it's a little more straightforwardly an Assassin's Creed game. Yeah, it's an open world game, but it's definitely a few steps in a more Assassin's Creed direction, I guess is the best way to put it. It's pretty successful and people really liked it. Not necessarily everybody. You can ask Jake his nuanced opinion on it if you want. He did the Before You Buy. But if you like Assassin's Creed, particularly if you like the idea of the open world ones but wish they were just a little bit more Assassin's Creedy, I would say this is a great entry to the series. At number 34 is Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon, which finally escaped early access back in May. It is an Avalon built on the ashes of King Arthur's ruined realm. There's a plague, and there's a whole lot of quests. It's a game that's heavily reminiscent of Skyrim or Oblivion, but it's a lot darker. It was one of those games that had a little bit of some glitchy problems when it launched, but for the most part, it's better now. Honestly, it's got a great world building. The exploration is super fun. I would definitely give it a whirl. At number 33 is Atomfall, kind of a Fallout light and in London. Basically, you're an amnesiac dude 5 years after an alternate history wind-scale nuclear disaster. You got cultists, you got mutants, you got robots. It's like if you took Fallout and mixed in a little Doctor Who, and everything took place in really quaint English villages and stuff. Reviews weren't as good on this one as I think it kind of deserved, and that may be because it's very derivative of Fallout, but I kind of just don't care. That's how genres spring into existence. We all know what Souls-likes are. Why can't there be a Fallout-like? And number 32 is The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered. So this was basically Unreal 5 running over a slightly upgraded version of the old Oblivion, and it looks like a new game. It's still the old game, very much, and there are some added voice lines and little fixes, things that make things more consistent. Sadly, the Infinite Stairs doesn't work, but you get Knights of the Nine, Shivering Isles, all the old DLC content. So if you like absolutely completely overhauled modern graphics with the jankiest old game underneath it, this is it, and I can't even possibly recommend it enough. At number 31 is Schedule 1, this bizarre indie drug simulator. It's kind of a tycoon game, kind of Breaking Bad, kind of a skateboard game, kind of a little bit of an open world game. Not much of one, though. It's a funny and enjoyable experience that I would highly recommend giving a shot, just because it's such a strange game. It's unique, and it's done, cheaply, but well. It's an indie game. Don't expect AAA production values, but it doesn't need it. At number 30 is Dynasty Warriors Origins, a reboot that came out way back in January, something you may have even forgotten happened, which you should do at your own peril, might I add. It is a great update to the Dynasty Warriors franchise. It's not perfect, but it is more focused, it's more cinematic, and actually a little bit less of a button masher, believe it or not. It's certainly better than what they tried to do with the open world Dynasty Warriors 9, and I think this is the right way forward for this franchise. Definitely play it if you like Dynasty Warriors. And number 29 is Blueprints, a roguelike published by Raw Fury. This is a really weird game. Basically, you're thrown into this shifting estate where you only have a certain amount of steps that you can do every day. You draft the rooms, you solve puzzles, you gather clues, and you hope to unlock the 46th room before the house reorganizes overnight and you start fresh. That's the loop of the game. Now, this is an extremely highly rated game. It is, as of right now, Metacritic's highest rated 2025 game with 96%. It's gotten some pretty good support post-launch, and it's a really interesting game. Give Blueprints a shot if you haven't. And number 28 is The Outer Worlds 2, basically kind of Fallout New Vegas Light 2. Obsidian is the people who were behind New Vegas. They made a game called The Outer Worlds. It's kind of what I expected Starfield to be, except smaller. It's definitely smaller in scale than a Bethesda game ever would be. But at the same time, I actually really enjoyed this game. They kind of upped the gunplay quite a bit. They added parkour, kind of took some cues from Destiny 2, good cues for this sequel, and I'm happy that they did make a sequel to the first game. This one isn't out yet. It's out on October 29th, but I'm definitely getting it. And number 27 is Battlefield 6. It looks a lot like a big return to form for Battlefield. You got campaigns back, a 2027-centric narrative, so just a few years into the future. We'll be seeing a full campaign reveal, might I add, on September 26th with all the devs and voice actors. There is a bunch of tech upgrades to the multiplayer and just the overall combat system, which they're calling the kinesthetic combat system now. Leaning, sliding, fluidity. I don't know about parkour, but much more fluid than previous Battlefield games, apparently. Also, you're going to get something they're calling fragmented install, which lets you choose just the campaign or just the multiplayer, which will cut the install size to 55 gigabytes instead of the 80 gigabytes, which is still, I mean, not as bad as it could be. There's some games that are way above 100. And probably one of my favorite things that I've heard about this is that you don't have to do the EA desktop app. You can just launch it directly from Steam. You do still have to have an EA account, but it's just infinitely better. I'm excited. Battlefield 6 looks good. I hope it's as good as it looks. It's landing all over the place on October 10th. At number 26 is Anno 117 Pax Romana, basically an ancient Rome version of the City Builder series that Ubisoft has. It's the oldest real-world setting the franchise has ever tackled. Anno's always a weird, kind of off-kilter city builder. It's got a few quirks to it that make it different in a lot of ways, but in a lot of ways it's also very similar to what you'd expect out of it. This one is going to be giving you diagonal building placement, which lets you ditch gridlock, and apparently it's going to be more modular and intuitive, quote-unquote, without sacrificing depth. Beta feedback actually says they deliver on this, so we'll see. It did get Best PC Game and Best Booth Awards at Gamescom 2025, so I think decent chance they know what they're doing. This one's landing on November 13th, though. At number 25 is Ender Magnolia, Bloom in the Mist, a 2D Metroidvania sequel to Ender Lilies. Kind of an interesting, kind of almost Pokemon-like dynamic to it, though, where Lily never actually fought. She purified the souls of various blah-blahs, and those souls joined her fight, kind of like demons or whatever. It's very along those lines still. You're a different character, but you still got the kind of Mega Man, Metroid, Nier stuff going on. It came out early in the year. If you like Metroidvanias, give it a shot, particularly if you liked Ender Lilies. But there's more robots and slightly easier bosses this time around. Maybe a little bit more content. Very polished, very good game. And number 24 is Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. Basically, Majima is a pirate. It's absurd. Probably the most absurd aspect of it is that it is a canon entry to the series. Takes place 6 months after Infinite Wealth. And, I mean, it's kind of like if you took the traditional Yakuza combat and upped it a little bit to be more like Platinum Games style combat, which is, I mean, it's not that, but it's closer to that. It's a very, very silly game, but it's super fun. It'll crack you up and weird you out. It's more Yakuza, except more silly Yakuza. At number 23, it's Metal Eden. Basically, if you combined New Doom with Ghost Runner, you got this, and it works real well. Metal Eden was quite a bit of fun in the demo, and the final product landed exactly how I wanted it to. It's one of those ones where I've given it a lot of attention due to the fact that it did have a demo that I rather enjoyed, and I don't really know what else to say other than it really delivers on being Doom combined with Ghost Runner. The agility of Ghost Runner is there. All the crazy high-octane Doom brutality is also there. It's great. And number 22 is Dying Light the Beast. If you enjoy Dying Light and you want to go back to the original protagonist, but also feel like you need something a little extra, like some werehog dynamics, well, Dying Light the Beast puts Kyle Crane, half zombie, half human, into Castor Woods after being experimented on for many, many years. And there is some crazy 4-player co-op, parkour, mutated craziness in this game. I guess probably the best way I could put it. At least that's the best approximation I can come up with from looking at it. This game is coming pretty much to every platform on September 19th. I'm definitely playing it. And number 21 is Hollow Knight Silksong. I did the Before You Buy on this one. Man, is this a good game. I said this in the Before You Buy. I'm not really sure that all of the new ideas make it into a revolutionary game. It's a Metroidvania. It is very much what you expect from a Metroidvania, but like nobody does it like Team Cherry. Nobody. The more I've played it, the more I have loved it. There's just very little that you could do to convince me that for $20 you can have a better gaming experience this year. A lot of people are saying it's a Game of the Year contender. I assume they mean for the big Game of the Year, because obviously everybody gets Game of the Year somewhere now. Still, man, you have not played this, you should. And number 20 is Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. This is a game that's been in development hell and is finally going to release this October. You're a reawakened vampire in Seattle. It's very noirish. It's very gothic looking, and it really looks like a Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines sequel. It's kind of crazy this game's coming out at all. It was with one developer, and it went to the Chinese Room, which is a narrative-heavy developer, not typically known for a lot of game mechanics. But hands-on coverage from Gamescom actually seems to indicate it's going to be a good game. They're saying it seems to emphasize story over open-world bloat. I am there for that. I don't get angry at open-world bloat, but if it's not there, I'm not upset. It looks good. It's going to be landing on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PC October 21st. At number 19, it's Clair Obscur Expedition 33. This one came out back in April, and if you haven't played it and like JRPGs at all, this is the year's JRPG. Yes, there are other ones that are good, and you have every reason to play, but if you're going to only play one, play this one. Now, it's not from Japan, it's from France, and it's got a weird, dark fantasy French painting world where everybody dies every year of a certain age, and it's at 33. So everybody who's that age is dying in the game soon. I don't know. I'm not really doing a good job summarizing it, and I can't quickly because it's a detailed and interesting story and probably just the best traditional JRPG with a few curveballs with the combat. Not so much that it doesn't make it turn-based, but man, this one is a serious shakeup. Like, France is a player in the JRPG game, to say the very least now. And number 18 is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, launched back in February. It's the bigger, better sequel to Kingdom Come Deliverance, obviously. You're in 1403 Bohemia, and it's a first-person, system-heavy RPG. That said, there's no better way to describe it. It is a very good example of that. It runs on CryEngine. It's a pretty game, but it's not like a gaudy game. You can get haircuts that boost charisma. It is a dense game that is practically a lecture on medieval politics at some points. But man, it's really interesting. It's a fun game. It's a tough game. It is rewarding to accomplish things in it. And if you haven't played it, it's a good one to do. And number 17 is South of Midnight, released back in April. You are Hazel. Your hometown's wrecked by a hurricane, and you end up being somebody who mends broken spirits on top of facing various folklore monsters. This has got some of the most interesting visuals you'll find in a game. It looks like stop motion. Some people complain a little bit about the linear aspect of it. Some people praise it for not being bloated. It's about a 10 to 12 hour game. I found it extremely interesting, and the visuals alone are interesting enough, but it's got a good story, and I thought it was fun. At number 16, it's the Precinct. Kind of a Grand Theft Auto, but you're the cop. Not quite, though. I don't want to say that doesn't describe it, but it also doesn't describe it. It's a far more linear experience than any Grand Theft Auto game you're going to play, but it does at times feel like Grand Theft Auto in certain ways. It's also top-down, which I think is actually a great version of what it is. I think that the sort of cool retro-ness of the game works really well. It's also one of those games you can just, play a few missions, put it down, come back in a couple of days. It just feels good. The loop of it never feels like you have to do something for too long. Pace is awesome. It's a good game. If it sounds interesting to you, if it looks interesting to you, play it because it's great. Again, this is one I did the Before You Buy on, and I've played a lot. I hope that there's more in this series. And number 15 is Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, the remake of Metal Gear Solid 3. Basically, this is a really great remake of a game that is pretty much a shot for shot. They left all the directorial decisions in place. If there's any changes, I certainly didn't notice them. Outside of the controls, which are much better, and of course the visuals are as well. Honestly, I could not be happier with this Snake Eater remake. I know that there are some people who have some gripes with it, but I've had absolutely no issues. I've enjoyed the hell out of it. I shot the end with a sniper rifle when he was sitting out on that dock, and I snuck by all the other guys. I have just had a great time with it. Play it if you haven't. It is at this point an absolute classic, and this is easily the nicest way to experience it. At number 14 is Terminator 2D No Fate, a game that doesn't really make sense that it exists, but we're thankful it does. Basically, it's a Terminator 2 game that looks like a retro 16-bit, but obviously, we get the rose-colored glasses on 16-bit here. It's a little nicer looking than that, but it is a pixel art game. It unfortunately doesn't have Arnold's likeness in it. Don't care, really. It is basically like an old arcade or SNES side-scroller, probably that plays a little nicer. It's not out yet. It's one that we're all really looking forward to here. Comes out on October 31st, pretty much on every platform. I will absolutely be playing this one. And number 13 is Dune Awakening. This came out back in June. It is a survival MMO built for multiplayer, but really, honestly, I found it more fun playing it kind of like a single player. You got the kind of grindy survival loop with the water rationing, the spice harvesting, the sandworm dodging, and it feels, honestly, a little bit more like Dune when you kind of ignore that other people are also playing it. And we put it on here because it works really well that way, and some people prefer it that way. I'm included in that category of person. It is actually a good game. It's not necessarily one that you're going to play forever, but I think Dune works surprisingly well as a survival game. And number 12 is inZOI. We covered this earlier in the year. It's a weird game. It's kind of like really pretty looking The Sims, but it had a lot of problems at launch. I mean, it still has problems, and it still isn't quite where it should be in terms of life sim stuff, but it does a bunch of weird things that just nothing else does. Check out Jake's Before You Buy on this one for more information on that. I'm not going to say that you will definitely enjoy it, but it is a must play if you are into that genre, just for the sake of the weirdness. And number 11 is Cronos: The New Dawn. This is a super interesting game. Again, this is one I did the Before You Buy on. It's a game that's just, it's kind of Dead Space meets Bloodborne, although the place that it takes place in is just nothing like either of those games. It's sort of a post-apocalyptic future that you travel back in time to 80s Poland. Both locations and times are super interesting, and maybe some of the visuals and storytelling aren't quite the most memorable thing of all time. The quality of this thing is just, in my opinion, a must play. I recommended it to people. The more I've played it since then, too, the more it's grown on me. Honestly, it I think just scratches the Dead Space itch really good. Even though it's not quite that type of a game, try it out. I think you'll see what I mean. And number 10 is Into the Dead: Our Darkest Days. Basically, it's the 1980s. You're in Texas. The city's been overtaken by zombies. You build, upgrade shelters, do survivor stuff, and there's permadeath. In a lot of ways, it feels kind of like if State of Decay was more This War of Mine. It's an interesting game. It came out back in April to early access. So keep in mind, it is an early access game, but I think if it's the type of thing you like, you'll find it very interesting. And number 9 is Hell Is Us, a sort of weird, supernatural, modern-ish, melee-focused, maybe Souls-like, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of Souls elements here, but in a lot of ways, I feel like this one veers a bit from what you would expect from that type of a game. So, I mean, it feels like it, but it doesn't. Jake did the Before You Buy on this one, and it's certainly a mysterious one. I mean, I think it's one of those games it's super fun, but it's really not hand-holdy. There's very little here to help you along. No waypoints, for instance. And there's going to be people that don't like that, and there's going to be people that do like that. And number 8 is The Altars, a game where you play as Jan Dolsky, who's stranded on a desert planet with lethal sun rays. You have to keep cloning yourself, and the clones are alternate versions of you, shaped by different decisions made in the past. It's kind of like Frostpunk in some ways, but also more character-focused than that. It's a real different game, and what it does really well. And number 7 is Ninja Gaiden 4, which was actually announced back in January and, weirdly enough, comes next month in October. This one's been co-developed by Team Ninja and Platinum Games, which I think is a very good choice. If Platinum Games can harness the kind of magic they used to bring on a consistent basis and bring it to Ninja Gaiden, that's 100% what's going to work. I love the Ninja Gaiden games. I wish we had a definitive version of all of them, but I will accept a fantastic Ninja Gaiden 4. That's coming to PS5, Xbox Series, and PC on October 21st. Now we're getting to some of the really big ones with number 6, Ghost of Yotei. The sequel to Ghost of Tsushima takes place quite a while later, different ghost. Same kind of thing, though, even though the time period is a little bit different. It's 300 plus years after the original. Since 1603, Hokkaido, and your family is murdered by a gang of 6 that you have to hunt down and defeat, which, yes. And number 5 is Silent Hill F, the first Silent Hill to take place in Japan rather than just be developed there. It very much looks exactly like you would expect it. It's got a very different feel to it, a more Japanese feel. There's going to be a different sort of vibe to the combat. You'll be making weapons, and it takes place in the 1960s, so this is just going to be a very different game, but probably also very similar. It's apparently a standalone that you won't need to know anything about Silent Hill in order to jump into, so I say let's go. This one is landing on September 25th for PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. Moving on to number 4, it's Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, something, honestly, I'm not sure any of us really thought we'd ever see, but it's finally coming. It's a new Retro Studios Metroid Prime game with the subtitle of Beyond, and honestly, we don't know a whole hell of a lot of this, but we do know it's been nearly a decade since the last Metroid Prime, and, well, that remake that they released not too long ago, it's real nice. I'm excited to play a new Metroid Prime game, for sure. Next, number 3, it's Borderlands 4. This game only just dropped at the time of making this video, but so far seems pretty good. It's definitely more Borderlands, but they have managed to make it feel pretty fresh. Of course, these games really develop over time. We'll see how the end game is, but they've really beefed it up with a big explorable open world, incredible guns right off the bat, and some really tight, snappy FPS gameplay. Something I think is particularly good, they've got a lot of modern movement stuff like grappling hooks and more verticality. It's a pretty big looking game. We're still just making our way through it, but it's fun. And of course, Borderlands is always best played with friends. So obviously, find some friends, but if you don't have any or don't want to play with them, you can completely solo it. And that's, we're not going to lie, something that we've been doing. And number 2 is Mafia: The Old Country. This is very much an old school Mafia game placed in a much older place and time. It's probably one of the cheapest AAA titles of the year at $49.99. It's a very polished game. It's linear, it's story focused, and for some people that's going to be great, and for some people it's going to be not what they wanted. It's what I wanted out of it, and I've really enjoyed it. It's out pretty much everywhere now. And finally, at number 1, it's Doom: The Dark Ages. What can you say about Doom: The Dark Ages? It's a little bit slower than Doom Eternal. It's a different beast in a lot of different ways, but it's also great. It's not that slow. I know people were talking about it being super slow, like you're piloting a mech almost. No, I don't know why people are saying that. It's maybe slow by Doom Eternal standards, but that's an insane standard. We've all had a hell of a lot of fun with Doom Eternal at Game Ranks, and I think it's definitely worth your time. There's a reason we put it at number 1. It's a great game, and it's just impossible to deny it. And that's all for today. Leave us a comment, let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications, and as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time right here on Game Ranks.